Hello, everybody, and welcome to Planet FPL, the world where everything revolves around Fantasy Premier League. My name's Suj.
And my name is James.
James, where are we?
We're in North London, the Premier League team from North London, the North London team that will be in the Champions League next season. Ricky Saunders in the house, our Tottenham correspondent. How are you, Ricky?
I am superb, thank you very much. How are you two?
Yeah, fantastic.
Well,
yeah,
mate, right, Suj, lead on this one.
Well, I just heard how Ricky pronounced the word south, so I wanted to pronounce the word north now as well. North London. How are you feeling about the
proper
season? North with an F. I think at the start of the transfer window, obviously Perisic coming in, and then Richarlison coming in, and now Jed Spence coming in. And Harry Kane turned up for training on first day, as was expected.
Bissouma.
Yeah, Bissouma as well. Everyone was thinking you're the closest place to challenge the top two. So, I mean, it goes in waves, I think, in transfer windows. You got your business done early, which most teams prefer. There'll be a late flurry and people start getting confident about other teams because they've done business later. But go on, what do you think? Are you happy? You've got to be happy, really, with the transfer window and where it sets you up.
Do you know, I was driving to work this morning, and I knew you would ask this question, and so I'm glad I thought of an answer. Yeah, I'm relatively happy. I'm over the moon with the players we've brought in, but for me, the window won't be complete until we've got some people out the door as well.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because we recorded with Chris, West Ham correspondent, a little while ago. We're talking about the players listed in FPL. We have 21 players listed in FPL. I pulled Spurs up. You've got 31 players. You've got 10 more players listed. Yeah. And then that's not obviously talking about fringe players that they haven't even given prices to. So I think you're right to mention that there's a lot of bodies in there now. And sometimes having stragglers is as detrimental as getting the new ones in.
Absolutely. We've got a lot of players on a lot of money that Antonio clearly doesn't like, and they're not going to feature other than dead cup games or things like that. So we need to get some people out the door. And we've spent a lot of money. Well, no, we haven't actually really considered how much we had. We haven't spent that much, but there's been outgoings, and although Levy has been very un-Levy-like so far this season, he's got one eye on the purse string. So we're going to have to get rid of some people. And I don't know how close we are, but there's also the homegrown quota as well that I think is a bit of a concern. But anyway, that's all by the by.
I think Fraser Forster and Jed Spencer's kind of leveled that out. We should be all right.
Yeah. But no, I'm over the moon with who we've brought in. We've massively strengthened the squad. I don't think all of them are necessarily first team players, not first team players. People that are going to start week in, week out. But the squad has been enhanced massively.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And obviously, it means a lot of assets that are interesting from FPL, which we can get onto as well. The manager staying as well, which was really up and down for periods at the back end of last year.
Never in doubt.
I mean, look, James talked about it a number of times, and it was back him, right? It was back him, give him money. Give him what he wants and let him do what he wants to do.
Yeah, more than give him what he wants. Give him what he wants.
Give what he wants, yeah.
And we know that that's not Daniel Levy's favourite thing to do, is give people what they want. He likes to get what he wants. But to their credit, Edic and what have you, they found the money and they've given it to him and they've spent in the areas he wanted to. So he's got to be happy as well. Conte's the reason you got top four. Conte's the reason you could get top four again and challenge, right?
Absolutely. They're the same players. We had 2 additions in January who did hit the ground running, and that was a massive help. But the difference in so many players within that squad, every single person in that squad is better than they were before we started. And I don't remember if it was on last year's Meet the Correspondent or if it was in a Clash of Correspondents, but I said to James and James agreed, and it was name me one player in that Tottenham squad that improved under Mourinho, because he wasn't coaching the players to be better. And Conte is the exact opposite. Every single player has taken their game to another level. So it's everything that we did last season, everything that we're hopefully going to do this season. It's all down to Conte and what he's getting out of the players.
It's legitimately every single player who is featuring in the first team. He's better than they were this time last year. I cannot think of any player who's been playing regularly for us who you'd say is in. If you want to be picky, you might say Harry Winks, for example. But he's also Harry Winks is going. He's not part of the squad. So in terms of what he's got and the players that will feature in the 18 or so on opening day, they are all better than they were a year ago. And that includes Kane and Son as well, all of them.
It's amazing that he's been able to take Kane and Son's levels up one. It's you've got two players that are world class, from the fringe of world class, and he's actually in the space of 8 months, he's made them better than they were. He is an amazing coach. It is in the back of my mind that at any point he could just throw his toys out of his pram and say, "Do you know what, this ain't working," or "I don't think," because he wants to win the league. And he must believe that Tottenham can win the league either next year or the year after. But if it's one bad result or one performance that he doesn't like, and he could just up and leave, and that's always in the back of my mind. I'm delighted he's here, but I'm not. I know he's not going to be my manager for the next 5 years. I know that for a fact.
Yeah, honestly, we could just jump in. We could finish third, and he could walk out at the end of the season because he look at it and go, "I can't get near that top two."
Yeah,
it honestly could happen.
And it's not even so much how we perform it. It's Liverpool and City. If they do what they've been doing for the last 3 or 4 years, and they perform at that level, you can't get near them.
It's hard. It's hard. You getting into the Champions League, obviously, it's a massive achievement. You want to be in the Champions League, but for me, at the end of last season, it's a joke because what's the point, right? You're going to go through the group stages and get slapped and be back in the Europa League by the new year anyway. But with the additions now and the depth that you've got, it's not, because what's the point in being in the Champions League if you're just going to get whacked in the group stages and it's a pointless exercise? Like when Leicester were in it, you'd rather be in a competition you got a chance of winning, right?
Sorry,
no.
Did you hear James at the start? He said this was the Tottenham clash. It's not the Arsenal one. This is the Tottenham one, yeah.
Yeah. If you hadn't made reinforcements in the summer, you're going into this season with the same squad you had at the back end of last year. You wouldn't. You might have got out of the group depending on who you get in the group stages. But then what?
Listen, we could go out in the group. Honestly, the way the pots work out this year, we could have a rough draw and we could go out in the group stage. We still won't see you in Europe. We might see Arsenal. We still won't see you.
That's true. Europe. No, we'll see Arsenal. They're coming to the Conference League, mate. Don't worry about that.
Maybe.
But it becomes if you go into competition, you just get slapped. Though psychologically, it's like, what's
let's ask you, Suj. Do you think an Antonio Conte team is going to get slapped?
Depends who's in your group, mate. Depends who's in your group, but but put it this way: with the squad you've got now, with the additions you've made, I don't think that's the case.
There won't be anyone better in our group in the Champions League than the two teams we took 8 points off of last season, in Man City and Liverpool.
Yeah.
So individual game, if you're generally talking about Tottenham, if I can try and move my fan allegiance away from the moment, consistency is a problem, right? You look at like Brighton at home and stuff. Lost, deserve to. Brentford away, drew 0-0. Should have lost, right? And that's during the good spell. That's during a run of 1-7, drawn 2, lost 1. City and Liverpool don't have them games. It's like the reality. Win all the way through when you get into that running period.
It's relentless.
And you give them a head start, and we've spoken about it with Johnny and Dan this week. They're going to start the season knowing that they can't afford to be like 6 points adrift of the other. And it's the same as soon as, for a Tottenham or Chelsea and Arsenal, if they generally think they can challenge this year, as soon as you're adrift, that's over. You ain't catching them two.
For the first time we've been up in and around it, the relentlessness of it is draining. It's like, shit, you got to win again this week. You got to win again. And the second you don't, you're behind and you're like, wow, the pace is tiring to kind of keep up with, which I understand.
And that's probably one of my concerns going into the season. It's the Conte's teams don't generally fare well in Europe anyway because of the Saturday, Wednesday. it's a much more condensed season as well because of the World Cup. So it's going to be even more pressure. And that's my only slight concern. I think that's why we've maybe added to the squad as much as, and I'm talking about squad players. We haven't brought in players that are going to be automatic starts. We've brought in players that are a part of a bigger squad. And maybe that's why we haven't been so eager to see people walk out the door, because maybe we are going to need these at later stages, because they're still good players, the players that we're trying to flog. They're not they're not going to be people that can't feature for us, but it's going to be a hard slog, 2 games a week every week until, well, pretty much all season. Really.
To the World Cup, and you've got a lot of players that will be going to the World Cup as well. From an FPL point of view, when I think Spurs, I think attack. I think goals. Like back in the last season, you were scoring so many goals, and James mentioned Kane and Son there as well was really stepping up a level. And unlike a lot of teams, you've got 3 very obvious players that all have 25, 26, 31% ownership at the time of recording, in Kane, Son, and Perisic, and then Kulu's kind of nearly 10% as well. And then everybody else is bits and pieces. But they really stand out as, if you're going Spurs, Kane, Son, Perisic, Kulu, and don't worry about the rest. Like, there's no point in any of the others unless you're trying to save money.
People do think of attack when you think of Spurs, but don't rule out our defence as well. We were really solid defensively last year, and I will 100% have one of our wing backs in my starting 11 come game week 1. I'm not entirely sure who it's going to be yet, but I will definitely pick at least one. Because we will get clean sheets, and those fullbacks are going to get attacking returns. So anybody that's going to be overlooking our defence, I think it's going to be a mistake. Because even the most expensive one, Perisic, is 5.5.
He's the one with 31% ownership right now. So
but
he's in for me. I don't know if he's in for James. He's in for you, isn't he?
Yes, at the moment, Ivan Perisic is in as the top line of the Tottenham back line, and sensational potential. And what I saw in 25 minutes at Rangers at the weekend makes me believe at this stage that he will start in game week 1 against Southampton. And my thinking behind that is that he doesn't want Chelsea to be his first game. So actually build the fitness even more in the Southampton game, be ready properly for Chelsea game week 2. And he is, even from wing back, a huge attacking threat. He nearly scored and assisted in those 25 minutes at Rangers at the weekend. Now, at the time that this recording is going out, if you're watching the Premier live on YouTube, or you're listening to the audio on Saturday afternoon or early Saturday evening, Tottenham's last friendly is at 7:15 on Saturday. And what I recommend you do, particularly if you're watching the YouTube Premier, after this, put the kettle on, watch the Community Shield, then order a pizza, get yourself a dodgy stream for Tottenham against Roma. And then on Monday, we can definitively say, because I think it's fair to say, Ricky, what we say definitively, we hope. We don't really know. That's my feeling on Perisic, but I can't sit here and say that's 100%. Of course not. And it does mean at the moment, despite obviously seriously wanting one of them Tottenham wing backs, it might be that the solution is to start with none and come back to it. And I think that's what the majority of FPL managers are leaning to. But I really think this Roma friendly on Saturday night is going to give us an indication of who's likely to start. Where do you sit with it, Ricky? Let's start with left side specifically. So Perisic, Sessegnon.
Yeah, at the minute Perisic is in my side. He will stay there if he starts against Roma and doesn't pick up any niggles or anything like that. If he doesn't start, I will have Sessegnon in the side. I don't think he's going to be fit enough to start a Premier League game based on 2 cameos in friendlies a week apart. So that's my thinking. But Perisic is obviously going to be the player for the rest of the season. I think listening to the other correspondent pods, I think everyone's in the same kind of mind. We're all going to be wild carding definitely before game week 8. So when I'm picking my side, I'm only picking it for the first 8 games. And even at that point, I'm still looking at Perisic. He may be someone that I come back to in game week 2 or game week 3 if he doesn't start against Roma.
Yeah, I think if you're looking at the really early one, sort of game week 3, I think you probably go without, actually. With how bad can it be game week 1? You could get the selection wrong and then you could get well beat at Chelsea in game week 2. I think if you're looking game week 3, you probably skip it. If you're looking the first 6, I think you want one.
Yeah. Me personally, I'm looking 6 to 8, maybe even 5 to 8, but definitely 6 to 8. So I will have one without a shadow of a doubt. And I'm really hoping that Perisic plays against Roma, because then my decision is very, very easy.
So what happens if they play 45 minutes each? No, legitimate question. We're going to find out shortly.
Yeah, and that's a very real possibility as well.
It is.
If they play 45 each, I will probably I'll go for the cheaper option just to mitigate my loss, and I'll go for Sessegnon, knowing that we're probably not going to pick up anything in the second week either. So I will go that way, and then look to bring in Perisic. Maybe even leave it until a wild card, but look to bring him in from game week 3 onwards.
Could he even, though, do you think, do that in game week 1? Play Sessegnon first 45 and Perisic second 45, even in game week 1, for example?
With 5 subs available, yeah, why not?
Well, yeah.
This the 5 subs, it makes FPL easier in many respects, but it also makes it much more of a headache, because you're not guaranteed a 90-minute man anymore.
The other interesting aspect for Tottenham at the moment is technically 6 players who can play wing back.
Yeah.
So you've got obviously Perisic or Sessegnon. One of them almost certainly is going to start left wing back. Doherty has been used out there and he's capable in that position as kind of the third player. On the right-hand side, you've obviously got Spencer's come in. You've got Doherty himself. You've got Emerson Royal, who's obviously the most defensive and I think could well be used in some of them bigger games like Chelsea away if he stays at the club. And he's obviously tried Lucas Moura now there in pre-season. So even if he did go, do you know what? They're not fit enough yet. I'm going to play Emerson Royal and Sessegnon first half against Southampton, Spence and Perisic, perhaps a bit more dynamic second half, and know that even if he lost one of them to injury, he can bring Doherty on either side. Yeah. Now, when you sell it like that, everyone hearing that, I go, I can't start with one of them. Like, honestly. And I can't tell you that shit's, it would be strange, but I can't tell you right now that sort of thing isn't in his thinking to build them up. We certainly know that it's a position that he will change during the game. So like, if you're sitting there thinking, I need 90 minutes from Perisic every single game, no chance. If he starts regularly,
for points.
I'm sure sometimes he will play 90 minutes because particularly if we've got injuries in the forward line, he might even move Perisic into like the front 3 late into games, which he is very interesting, by the way, particularly if we're counter-attacking with a lead and stuff. But generally speaking, if he starts games, he's probably coming off 75 or so as an average, maybe even earlier 70.
And if you factor in as well, whatever Champions League group we get, if we get a tough group, then who is going to be his preferred player in a Champions League game, Perisic or Sessegnon? He's going to go with a man who's done it all. So is he going to have reduced minutes in the Premier League, be rested completely in the Premier League? There is a lot to factor in, but for me,
that's also not a factor until after game week 6.
Yeah. So
we don't need to fret about it yet. Champions League is starting later in terms of game weeks than it normally would. Normally in FPL, you're looking after sort of game week 4. So it's after game week 6. It doesn't have to bother you in your mind to start. Not in
the initial team. But it's the same kind of conundrum we have when picking City players. We're never guaranteed who's going to start. So should we not pick any, or do we pick one and take our chances? I think I'm going to hopefully, depending on Roma, go with Perisic and take my chances because when he's on that pitch, he's going to do bits. And all he needs to do is play 60 minutes, and he's got his clean sheet points and hopefully an attacking return as well.
The other thing is as well, his ownership has dipped quite a lot from when the game first opened and stuff. Is because of the doubts. People got doubts, and those doubts are very understandable, by the way. And I think if he can do an hour against Roma and he looks good, and I'm pretty sure he will if he does, then I'm pretty sure I'll start with him.
Yeah, it's just that Roma game. Once that's out of the way, I'll be a lot clearer in my mind.
So you're not going with Sessegnon then?
If he doesn't, if Perisic doesn't start or doesn't play significant minutes, if he comes on 25 minutes again, then no, I will go with Sessegnon game week 1.
If Perisic was to get injured at the weekend or tonight when this goes out, we'll start with Session on Game Week 1, won't we?
Absolutely. Well, I would certainly will be.
Yeah,
Yeah, Perisic was to get injured. I would definitely go Sessegnon if Perisic was injured. But I don't factor in minutes and all that in my decision making with Perisic. But the ceiling's so high, and the quality of players there, I'm just going to get him in.
He's got unbelievable quality.
Yeah,
I mean, as James said, in that, and you could tell in that cameo he wasn't fully fit, but he was still, he was still, levels above what we've had there for a very, very long time.
Yeah,
the attackers.
He's a special and experienced player. He knows what he's doing. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Before we move on to the attackers, we should cover the other side of the pitch, because that's actually even more complicated, isn't it, Ricky?
Of course.
And I don't actually know the answer.
Guess away.
Yeah, I've got a feeling, and it's exactly as you said a couple of minutes ago, actually, James. I think initially Doherty is going to be the preferred player. I think Emerson Royal will play the games where we need to be more defensive because he's not a wing back, he's a fullback. But before the World Cup, if not even much sooner than that, I think Jed Spence will force his way in as the number one player in that position. Maybe not initially, but he will be within 10, 15 game weeks tops.
I think Spence will start Game Week 1.
You think so?
At the moment,
I hope so, because I really like him.
I think he might. Now, one thing to caveat that is exactly kind of what Ricky just said. I don't think he starts at Chelsea. So if you're looking at it as in, and to be honest, you're probably less fussed about it Chelsea away in any case as well. But you are probably looking at a 1 point return, particularly if Tottenham were chasing the game. They'd probably want to use him as a more offensive wing back later in the game. I think he might just throw him in. The one thing I can't understand about Doherty, and I haven't heard anyone give a reasonable explanation for this yet. At Rangers on Saturday, Emerson started the game. He took Emerson off after I played Lucas there for 15, 20 minutes. Then he took the big hitting forwards off. He moved Lucas into the front three. And then Jed Spence came on and played the last 20 minutes or so at wing back. And that's all he's had so far. So like Perisic, probably behind, but Spence also isn't recovering from an injury. So his original fitness levels, we don't know if he's been running, not running, whatever. It might be a little bit higher. So Doherty, he played 3 different right backs in the last pre-season friendly, and Doherty wasn't any of them.
And that really surprised me.
So where does it leave us right now?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, we keep on saying it, but we'll know more after the Roma game, I guess. But Doherty was clearly the player he favoured last year, and he only played Emerson when Doherty got injured. So he was his preferred option. So I'm guessing that he's still his preferred option. But yeah, the Rangers game left me scratching my head.
But in the last 5 games of Tottenham season, Emerson Royal was good.
He was.
And that includes a performance at Anfield.
He was good. The Anfield one was more of a backs to the wall, and that suited him because he is more defensive. It's a position where we've got luxuries of we can pick a player based on the opposition, and they're all strong options for that style of play. I don't think anybody is gonna nail down a slot. I think Spence is going to be the one that gets the most game time, but he will be rotated depending on the opposition.
I think he could go straight in, but I generally, if it's Doherty, I'm not surprised. If it's Emerson, I'm not surprised. Which I think puts the lean in towards the left-hand side. Maybe feels clearer. Honestly, he could play Lucas at right wing back. I mean, what does that even mean if he does it? Why do you think he suddenly decided to try it now? When a lot of us during last season were calling for it.
Yeah.
Like when we were struggling, try it because Doherty and Emerson were both really bad at the time. Try Lucas there. So many people were saying it, refused to do it. Occasionally, later in games, he put Kulusevski there, which doesn't look like it's going to be an option unless we really are throwing the kitchen sink at people later in games. So why do you think he's now got 3 right wing backs? Why has he now chosen this moment to try Lucas Moura at right wing back?
Possibly because we're lining up people to sell. So there's been a lot of talk about Emerson going, and I wouldn't be too unhappy about that because he doesn't really fit the style of play. He's not a wing back. maybe he doesn't see Doherty's got a future, or we've had some interest in Doherty. So maybe we'll be left with maybe one fullback or two fullbacks, wing backs, and just try it out more as an option. How does it work? I don't think there's any intention to play Lucas there as a consistent thing. Maybe it's just trying out different options of what I can do should the need arise in a bigger game.
So I had a theory behind it a little bit, which I spoke about on our Patreon Tottenham podcast on Tuesday, is that if Spence becomes first choice, when either of the other two play, if Spence looks the clear first choice, he's going to feel like a downgrade in terms of its athleticism on that side of the pitch. Emerson is very defensive. Doherty will get into the box. He would be a decent FPL asset. But in terms of how the team play, Doherty and Spence are different players. You are getting different traits from those two wing backs. The closest profile player in the squad to Spence might be Lucas Moura.
Yeah.
And I wonder if there's a bit of that, knowing that down the line, if Spence was to be first choice, really hit it off, and then you lose him, you're losing quite a bit of dynamism from the team. And Lucas could potentially fill in for that, particularly in easier games, let's say.
Where he hasn't got so much defensive work to do. Oh, so we were calling for this 6-8 months ago when the left side of our pitch was woeful, and it really was for quite a while. I'm more than happy to see Lucas play there, whether it's just.
I have no problem that he's tried it at all. No, it's just the timing is really strange.
It's 2 weeks before the start of the season. It is a little bit because I didn't see it in any of the pre-season games. I know we haven't played that many, and maybe he's been doing this in training, and we just haven't seen it. But it is strange timing. But I'm glad.
So you think Doherty and Perisic, in your opinion, game week 1? Yeah. I'm going Spence and Perisic game week 1. I bet when I do the podcast on Monday, you've messaged me and said, James, I've changed my mind. And I bet I've changed my mind as well. No, we have to be honest with the listeners and say, like, we can give our opinion right now. None of us know. We really, really do not know. Have you got Suj? You want to? I bet Suj nails it. Suj will go session on an Emerson and be right.
Emerson. No, I'm going Emerson and Perisic.
Well, there you go. We've basically the three of us.
We've gone all three.
Well, we did all agree on Perisic. That's something. So
listeners,
that's the one
lock Ryan Sessegnon into your teams right now. Basically, okay. Go on, Suj. Take it somewhere else. There's only so much we can cover of that.
No, you're right. Okay, attacking wise, my thought process has been all over the place, but I really want 3 City and I really want 3 Liverpool, right? I think that they're the 2 best teams and they're going to score loads of goals, but you guys are going to score loads of goals as well. But I've ended up with, from an attacking point of view, from those clubs, Diaz, I've got De Bruyne and Haaland at the moment. I don't have money for Kane or Son, and I've got Kulu in, right? So now I've got 2 Spurs in Perisic and Kulu. Right? I could only have one more anyway, but I'm skipping out on Son and Kane. I'm really happy with Perisic and Kulu, and I've also got the fear of God in me about Son and Kane, but I still feel like I want to lean towards City and Liverpool a little bit more as well. You're going with Son and Kane, or one or the other, or none?
Currently, I have Kane and Kulu.
Between us, we've got every asset.
Yeah, but they're all good.
They're all good.
Kulu for me at 8 million. I think he's going to be a monster this year.
I think he is. I've purely gone for Kane over Son because there's a 500,000 difference in them. I would be delighted to have Son in my team as well. I just went for that 500,000 saving. I mean, I think Kane. I don't think we can say anything about the bloke that hasn't been said already. He is amazing, and I could only see him being even better this season. He's got so much dynamism around him. His range of passing as well, and his little assists that he sees. He's going to be picking up points left, right, and centre. And I mean, if you don't want to have Kane, you want to have Son. You're not going to be missing out on many points. You may even be gaining some. That's just the way that I see it. But yeah, Kulusevski at £8 million, I think is an absolute steal.
Mm.
There's a case to say that for the majority of the 8 million midfielders. That's the only
true
thing to say about that. On Kane v Son, I think Ricky sums it up very well, despite the fact I have slightly different opinions with him. There's small advantages for Sonny in the additional point for the clean sheet, the additional point for the goal, which means if they perform exactly the same, Son's probably going to edge it in terms of the points, but then he costs 0.5 more. So it's close. Like if you said to me now, Kane's going to comfortably outscore him, I'm not overly surprised. If you said to me, Son's overly going to comfortably outscore Harry, I'm not surprised. I think in many cases, it's not a Son versus Kane. It's more what's going with.
Yeah.
So, if you're insistent on having Haaland, for example, then I think you are more inclined to probably end up with Sonny than Harry. Because then presumably then you're going Salah and you're going 3 premiums, or you're going without a premium midfielder, or maybe you're going De Bruyne, for example, as well. But then maybe no Liverpool attack at all. And obviously, if you've got a preference for, say, your preference is you're going De Bruyne over Son, then maybe you're ending up with Harry. And I think it's like that. I think particularly with Son and Kane, it really could go either way. For me to sit here, or Ricky to sit here and say Son's going to outscore Kane or vice versa. I mean, I would say Son. Ricky's saying Harry. I could certainly say as well the form horse from pre-season is Harry. Like,
he looks sharp.
My
God,
God,
so sharp.
And by the way, Sonny's not. Just Harry has really looked that he's on it. Yeah, I mean, if you've seen his goals at Rangers at the weekend, particularly the first one, you're going to go, yeah, I want some of that.
Yeah.
So either's absolutely fine. Personally, what I definitely won't do is tell everybody don't buy them. Like, if you want them, have them, crack on. But then that goes for KDB, Haaland, and Mo Salah as well.
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
I'm not going. It's never even entered my head once to go Salah this season, and I might be. I'm making a massive mistake.
Probably.
But for me, it's
you and me both.
Yeah. It's not even a question of Son or Kane. It's really, do I want Son and Haaland or Kane and De Bruyne? That's what I've got to kind of weigh up in my head.
For me, that's Son and Haaland. For me
as well, Son and Haaland. I've gone De Bruyne and Haaland,
and that's probably why right now Sonny's sitting in my squad rather than Harry, and that's it. I think it's Haaland over De Bruyne for me.
Well, I've just finished listening to. I was listening to it this morning, the podcast with Johnny
Pringle.
Yeah, what he was saying about De Bruyne was really making me think. Him playing potentially a number 10. Yeah, I want some of that. I do want some of that.
Possibly looking like he's on 9 at certain stages, maybe even. Yeah. I mean,
But
KDB could go back to his most explosive ever levels this season, possibly.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah.
Right. This is painful because we can't decide. Why Decky then? Go on then. Why Decky over the other 8s? Because he's not my preference at the moment.
Is he not? Okay. Well, I mean, the only other, you've got Bowen that's a little bit more. Bowen scored a lot of points for me last season. I think he's possibly going to do even a little bit better maybe this season. But he's I don't think he's 0.5 better than Kulusevski. Not that as part of an attacking force is not better than Kulusevski. Mason Mount is possibly the only one that I would have over Kulusevski. I've got Diaz already, by the way, in my initial side.
Okay, so, I was waiting for you to mention him.
Yeah.
I was starting to feel like my team was shit,
No, I've got Diaz, but yeah, Diaz and Kulusevski could become Diaz and Mount or Kulusevski and Mount. Actually, I've got Bowen as well, funnily enough. So,
bloody hell! What have you done?
One striker?
No, I've got Kane and Jesus.
Okay.
So you got one premium and it's Harry.
One proper premium and it's Harry at the moment.
Oh, that's a gamble. I don't hate it because that's unique and different to a lot of what we're saying. That's a struggle to get. If you need to get up the Mo, mate, that's a long way. You know that.
I've got some to trim some fat off of that somewhere.
You are Diaz straight down to a 6 million or low, mate.
Diaz down to a 4.5, I think.
To be honest,
thing is-
if you do that, it's just an interesting point. It's off Tottenham. I'm just trying to think. Are you free Liverpool then?
2 Liverpool. I've got Robertson and Diaz.
Okay, so you haven't got the free. Okay, that would help a little. I was going to say, if you had free and you've got that lineup, presumably you've got to get Kane down, sell another Liverpool player, and then move the money up the salary. It costs you 3 transfers. That's too far away. So interesting. You almost can't go to third Liverpool player under that structure.
Not under this structure, but once again, it's in my head that this is going to be my team for 6 to 8 weeks, and that's it.
Then you should get a third Liverpool player.
This is the thing with that. If you look at the other 8, Saka, well, you've got Jesus as an option, and Martinelli's only 6 million. So you're like better options there. Maddison at Leicester, their fixtures are like in out, shake it all about.
Yeah.
That's why I think Kulu and Diaz. I've got 2 at 8 million, and it's Kulu and Diaz.
I mean, as I've listened to all of these pods, and every time, oh yeah, he's good, and so at the minute, I'm looking at, we'll bin off Jesus, we'll get someone nice and cheap, and I'll get Martinelli.
I should have put you on first. Everyone forgot about you, mate.
Yeah. It's what happens with Correspondent Week. Your squad
Ricky,
evolves
you're the last.
podcast
You're the last of the big 6 on. Everyone's starting with triple Tottenham, mate.
with just a different triple Tottenham.
Yeah, Decky is. I mean, anybody who's listened to us regularly knows he is absolutely phenomenal. He's a pleasure to watch. He's all in his head. He's still a baby, which I think people forget because he doesn't look like a young man.
So young.
He's all still to come for him. What he lacks in pace a little bit. I mean, he doesn't even need the pace to beat people and stuff. He's got the upper body and stuff. What a clever.
He's very
player.
clever. His footwork is excellent. He's got a trick in him as well. And people have said to me he's got no pace, but you'd never know that he's got no pace. He hides his. Well,
because I'm watching him closely a lot, but.
Yeah, you're different. But yeah, the average person, you wouldn't know he's got no pace because he's so clever. He reads the game very well. His anticipation's excellent. And he's already built up some really strong relationships within the team. And he did that. I mean, he had an understanding with Doherty virtually the first time they played together. They had a real good partnership going down that left side.
It's Doherty Ginger.
His link.
It's Doherty Ginger.
Give me a ginger from Ireland.
I'm just wondering if there's I don't know if there's a connection between them. I can't remember.
We used to have a Doherty who was ginger.
Oh yeah, Ginger Pele. Yeah. Gary Doherty. That's one for the champ man FPL players. Cool. What a player! But I guess there'll be people listening that'd be shouting right now, Richarlison.
I don't know where Richarlison is going to feature. As I said at the start, we've signed players for the squad, and I don't see Richarlison replacing anybody in that side on a permanent basis. Yeah, he's going to come in for certain games, and Decky may go off after 65, 70 minutes, and Richarlison comes on. But I don't think Richarlison's going to start. The one problem with Decky is that you're going to get some reduced minutes. But I don't. Other than the odd game here and there, which you're going to get with all of the top teams and rotation, I don't think Decky's place is under threat. He is the least likely of the front 3 to start in favour of Richarlison, but I don't think Richarlison's at that level where he's going to be replacing him in the side.
He also, interestingly, just to add you're absolutely spot on, I agree, of everything you say. Of the left, centre and right positions, I'd say it's Richarlison's weakest. He's to play from the right. He's far more threatening from left or central. I think when chasing games, at certain points, you will see all 4. I really think this year he might go bang back 4 and drop Kane into like an attacking mid position to be the creative player. Because Tottenham are still looking for an attacking midfield player. Those who listen to the Leicester pod, and I mentioned James Maddison, something I don't think will happen, but it's been mentioned. The team we're playing tonight, we're getting heavily linked with the Roma player, Nicola Zanello, who is another one.
I heard that this morning from a mate of mine.
That's been getting stronger and stronger day on day, that rumour. They want about 40 million. Again, we buy him, you ain't walking in the team. Tottenham are changing. This is the difference. Tottenham fans have really struggled with the sign of Richarlison because they can't actually quite work out why Tottenham are spending the amount of money on this player who's not going to start. reality is, Ricky, it's what the big clubs do.
It
And
is.
we are beginning to change.
I haven't struggled with it because I've over the last few years I've looked at when we 1-0 down, 2-1 down, whatever, and I've looked at our bench and I've looked for some inspiration. Who we've got to bring that's going to change this game? And I've looked at it and there's nobody. And we've now got a bench where we can come on, we can bring players on who can change a game. And it's what big clubs do. Liverpool, they take off last season, take off Mane, bring on Diaz. You know, you take off Salah, bring on Firmino. There's big players that can just come in and change a game, and we haven't had that. And if we want to stay where we are and maybe even progress, we need to be thinking like that. So many times over the years we've bought a player, we sold a player from our starting 11 and replaced with another player from our starting 11. We've never built up a good squad of quality players. And we're
the
doing
difference,
it now.
of course, now is Kane gets injured, Richarlison will play up front. And it potentially be for a little bit quite an interesting asset, for example.
Yeah.
I think also, again, I don't anticipate this to be too much of a problem at the start. Once we come to game week 6 and that Champions League starts afterwards, we've got Forest on the Sunday, West Ham on the Wednesday, Fulham on the Saturday. We don't know yet, but it could be Champions League on the Tuesday. So if you're looking at game week 6 going, I'm definitely captain Kane or Son at home to Fulham, you might not be. Because for the first time, they might not start. Now, can I tell you now if they're going to start in game week 6 or not? No, I can't. Of course I can't. But we might get there and go, do you know what? Richarlison's coming in for this, and one of that front three is going to get a rest. We are, for the first time, in a position where I think you could look at a fixture like that, Fulham at home, and go, I'm going to give Harry a break. And if I need him in the last half hour, he's down.
And we've never done that. Not under Poch, not under...
and Kane, by the way,
Mourinho.
if he's fit for 38 games, will still start like 35, 36.
Yeah.
And Son will be very close to that number as well, I should imagine. But it isn't the guaranteed 38 people want nailed, right? Of course, Harry Kane's nailed, but nobody in this league is 38 games anymore guaranteed.
No.
Nobody. Particularly with this World Cup year.
This is going to throw such a spanner in the works. You're going to see players performing out of their skin because they think they've got a chance to get into the World Cup. And there's going to be players that you wouldn't have imagined that will be better. And to go back to Johnny Pringle, I didn't even think about it until he mentioned it. Haaland's not going to the World Cup.
Mm-hmm.
Neither's Mo Salah, you idiot.
Yeah. You know, and I haven't got either of them currently, but it's things like that that are going to make this season one like we haven't had before.
Of course, yeah. On the other side of it, if England have got to the final and they play South Korea, England would still fuck it up, by the way. Then obviously Kane and Sonny would be doubts for game week 17 at Brentford. I'm sure probably neither England or South Korea will get that far. I think France will be lying in wait for England in the quarterfinals, I should imagine. But yeah, these are things we'll have to think about. By the way, I saw his FPL Focal posted. I didn't know this, guys. Just why I mentioned it to remember to bring it up. There won't be any price changes during the World Cup, apparently.
Oh wow, okay.
Which I think is the right decision as well.
Yeah, when they had that kind of COVID shutdown period and people were still allowed to make transfers, there still were price changes.
Yeah.
I'm not that there were
I haven't
many,
seen that
but
factually, but Focal's a good account. I'm sure he wouldn't tweet if it wasn't true.
Well, I've been going under the radar because I didn't even realise about the transfers during the World Cup until about 4 days ago.
That's okay, Ricky. It's all right. You don't normally know what day of the week it is, to be totally honest. Right, centre backs. Who's first choice?
The same three from last year. There's no difference there at all. Longley it's one for me. I think it's one of the most obvious. We'll have him for now because we can't get what we want signings. There's no difference whatsoever. Look, he's good cover. He will come in. He'll do a good job. He made some good passes, some good long passes against Rangers, but he's not going to oust. He probably will start game week 1 because Ben Davies has got a little bit of a niggle.
I don't think he will. Even if Davies is out, I think he plays Sanchez.
You reckon?
Yep.
Okay.
I think that will just come down to fitness start the season. And
well, and to be fair, Sanchez, I'm really torn with this guy. Some days I like him, and other days he'll make a clanger, and I wish he was nowhere near my side. But Sanchez, Conte favours him. He
He
seems
likes
to
him.
like him. Yeah.
And he's a decent squad player. We're not looking at him being first choice anymore.
No.
So, as an
No.
understudy, another one came in the team and everyone panicked at the end of the season. He was fine. Eric Dyer's progressed unbelievably under Conte to the extent that I knew Sonny was going to win our player of the year, but I voted for Eric Dyer because I felt he deserved it so much for
He has
just being
been
so
phenomenal.
consistent all season.
And I'm putting this on record. He is going to the World Cup. If he doesn't, I'm writing. He deserves his place in that side.
The only way I could see him not going to the World Cup is if Southgate absolutely decides he's going to play a back four every game. Because if he's going to play a back three and doesn't take him, I don't know what he's thinking.
Yeah.
Based as long as his performance maintained at the level of last season, he'd be ahead of Cody, he'd be ahead of Mings, he'd be ahead of a lot of these guys.
Yeah.
The case to say he should play, arguably.
Yeah. No, he's definitely one of the better ones. But no, I don't see any change in that back four. I'm sorry, back three whatsoever in the centre backs. Longley just a good backup. I'd like to see Rodon stay. I don't think he will do, but I'd like to see him stay. He's
FPL relevant as well. One of Rodon or Tanganga is going to go. Now it might be that Rodon stays and Tanganga goes to Italy. His agent's Italian, gets linked to going to Italy every year. But one of them, if Tanganga to Italy doesn't happen, one of them is probably going to move to another Premier League club, even if it is just a loan. And they are obviously both 4.0.
Yeah.
Would they be better choices than the likes of Nico Williams? No, but it's something to certainly bear in mind. I could see one of them ending up at Bournemouth or Fulham, for example, for the season. I could see that sort of thing happening. So just bear that in mind. Midfield 2, Ricky. It's not an easy call, is it?
It's not an easy
now.
Call. Yeah, I think it will. I think the team that we're going to put out first game of the season is going to be almost identical to the team we put out last game of last season. I think it's going to be Bentancur and Højbjerg.
I agree.
That's how he's going to start. And that's nothing. I mean, Basuma is going to be a brilliant player for us. Skip, I don't know how well he's recovered from his injury. Maybe needs some more game time. He's going to be a superb player for us. But I think just it's going to be same old, just for the time being at least. But there's going to be a lot of rotation. I mean, we're not going to pick any of the middle two anyway because they're not point gatherers. Although I think we are going to see. Look, Bentancur got a few assists and
got 4 actually.
Up. Yeah,
but you wouldn't get him over Neto, would
no,
you?
no,
exactly.
No, they are going to produce a few goals and assists over the course of the season, but I can't see any reason why you'd want to sign one of them over any other player of like 5 million.
Yeah, just to summarise to close as well, the 4 players we definitely know are going to go, or at least Tottenham will end up loaning them, paying most of their wage if it comes to it. Reguilon, Lo Celso, and Ndombele and Winks, they're going to go.
Yeah.
Obviously, Parrott and Dane Scarlett have been allowed to go on loan, which is another thing that makes me think there probably will be one more offensive player comes in some sort of form. And a lot of the fringe players, like we've mentioned, obviously Rodon and Tanganga, Pape Matar Sarr, players like this will be allowed to go out on loan. In the case of Rodon or Tanganga, one of them might be permanent. And if a good offer comes in for a Royal or a Doherty, they may leave. Or Emerson could go on loan, possibly.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. I think it will be Tanganga that gets sold. I think one of Emerson and Doherty will definitely go. I've got no idea what's happening with Heel.
Brian Hill at the moment is part of the squad. My understanding is that he may be allowed to go on loan again if it's a suitable move. Apparently, Tottenham do not want to sell him. They obviously feel he needs the physical work and stuff, but it could be. I think the club are looking at the moment again. They want 2 players in each position. And it might be that if an offer doesn't come in that the club deem as suitable in terms of a loan or a suitable move for him, they may go, your 6th choice attacker.
And I don't want Tottenham to sell him. I really like him. I think he's got a lot to offer.
I would probably like it to see him have a domestic loan.
Yeah.
And go and play for a team that will, a Southampton or something, let's say.
Yeah.
Within our league.
And it crazy how we spent 10, 15 minutes talking about wing backs. We didn't mention Reggie once. And
Reggie?
Because he's on his way out.
Well,
but if we'd have had this conversation last year, he'd have been one of the guaranteed starters.
I have to say, I think he's been treated quite badly. I don't think it was necessary. Things like, I don't think it's necessary to cut him off. Because I just feel like if, let's just say, Perisic or Sessegnon were to get a really bad injury before the season starts and they're out for 3-4 months, you don't want to sell him. You want to keep him. So, whereas the others, because there's serious cover, Lo Celso and Ndombele, Winks, they're completely expendable. I feel like that might have been a mistake. I think we've known for a while Reguilon isn't the long-term answer for us, whether it's a back four or a back three. But yeah, look, he's got his head down. I think it seems like it's quite liked amongst his teammates and stuff. A little bit disappointed that happened, but there you go.
Is what it is.
Anything else?
Where do you think? No, where did you put yourselves to finish, Ricky, in the old Correspondence Prediction League that we're going to be going through next week?
I put ours down to finish third.
Suj?
Yeah, I think that's basically first of the rest because of the way City and Liverpool are going to be.
Yeah, don't worry, we'll claim it as a trophy, mate.
Oh, you know that. There's been a lot of noise on Twitter and various other places, and my mates and rival fans about Tottenham making a transfer, a title challenge. Let me stop that nonsense right now. We're not making a title challenge. We're going to push, and I hope we push really, really strongly. But as good as Conte is, and as good as the signings we've made, we ain't clawing back 20 points in one season. I'll be happy to finish third, close the gap, maybe 15, even 10 points away from the top two, and then we push on again the season afterwards. But no, I'm not gonna tip us to win the title, just to be there or thereabouts for all of the season.
I would snap your hand off now for third.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I wouldn't be disappointed if we finish fourth.
I'll take fourth. I know that we used to
third or fourth in the long run doesn't matter.
No, and we used to have a go at the Arsenal years ago because it was Wenger for fourth is a trophy, blah blah blah. But it's important for a club like us that's trying to grow that we stay at that level. It's vitally important. Last year, it took me a while to realise that finishing above Arsenal was more than bragging rights. This is literally our club moving in a completely different direction because we won a game of football. It's that important. Champions League is that important, and I'll take it. And if we end up finishing 30 points behind City, but we've got fourth, I'll take that as well.
I'd say fourth just because it'll be third, fourth, or fifth, and I'm going to hedge in the middle. It's just so hard with Chelsea and Arsenal to know. Like you, Chelsea and Arsenal will be third, fourth, and fifth, and I think it's going to be fairly tight between.
United,
they'll be sixth. They'll be sixth. I don't think they're going to be close to you guys.
The guys who know me longest will know I'm actually pretty pessimistic about these things, and certainly me and Ricky were sitting here this time last year and actually saying no chance of top four, basically. I would be at the moment extremely confident that we'd finish top four, and I'd be very confident that we will improve on our points total from last season. There are several good assets which we've obviously spoken through. I think third is a realistic target this season, and much of that depends on what Chelsea we get, which we're not sure. It could implode or they could be brilliant. We don't really know. We actually, with us, for a change, Ricky, we think we know what we're getting here. And we think we're getting something that's better than what we've just seen. And what we've just seen finished the season really, really well with 23 points from the final 10 and stuff, not being Spursy, if you will. Goal scorers all over the pitch, defending really well, the system works. And the biggest thing of all is exactly what Ricky said near the start. The manager is unbelievable. He's one of the best in the world. And to be honest, if he decided to walk out in November, I wouldn't be surprised if we finished like 6th or 7th. Like, I think he's that important to what's going on. So, yeah, progression, really important. Very confident for the new season. The caveat on the correspondent predictions, Ricky.
Go on.
So, after the Champions League final in 2019, every correspondent bar one predicted Tottenham to finish third. And this is probably going to surprise you. there are only 3 that aren't predicting Tottenham to finish third at the moment.
Wow.
2 have gone for 4th, and 1's gone for 6th, and he's already regretting it.
Who went for 6th?
You'll see him on August the 10th on the first clash of the correspondence, or August the 11th, I should say. The first clash of correspondence of the season. You listening this time, Suj?
I haven't listened to the Chelsea.
Chelsea versus Tottenham. Gary Mantle and Ricky Saunders. Clash of correspondence returns on August the 11th. And the following Thursday, I can reveal it's the Oil Derby as well, but I didn't want to say that to their faces in case they got upset. You can all guess what that is.
Oil Derby.
Lovely, Jubby. Ricky, thank you so much for joining us on Correspondent Week as it marches on. James, that's 17 down, 3 to go, I think, now.
Blinding, yeah. This feels safe because no one thinks they're picking Bournemouth, Everton or Palace players, do they? we can just leave it now. I think these next pods will be really interesting. Bournemouth might be starting to do something in the transfer. We know we speak to Neil Grover tonight, but there is concern from the outside, certainly. Everton is obviously big concern. And Palace, we obviously really like. It's just a dog's dinner of a fixture run at the start. So yeah, 3 good pods to come, but we can probably now start. Those who've been chopping and changing their FPL team all week, as I said, they probably just landed on 3 Tottenham players, and that's it from here.
But they're all different.
You mentioned dog's dinner with Crystal Palace. You never know. McTavius might bring his dinner to the recording of Correspondent.
I'd love it if he did. Mig's a great one to finish with. Nah, seriously, Solanke, Gordon, Patterson, the likes of Zaha. There are players that can be considered. Zaha will get completely overlooked because of the fixtures. Probably have to ask if that's correct.
Just when McTavius is on, just ask him about Planche. I'm really intrigued by him.
We will.
Do you know what? I was gonna say that I'm not gonna ruin it.
Yeah, speak to him. I'll hear it on the pod when he speaks.
Fantastic.
Cheers, Ricky.
Thank you so much. Listeners, stay tuned for the rest of the Correspondent Week podcast. Make sure you hit subscribe and the like button wherever you are listening to the audio, and we'll be back at you tomorrow. Stay safe. Ciao for now.
Thanks, Ricky. Say it, mate.
Cue music, man child. Come on, Tottenham.
Can you Spurs? Cue music, please, man child.